You ever have one of those days where it feels like the universe is just waiting for you to snap? That was me standing in my backyard, sledgehammer in hand, watching 20 years of concrete memories fly apart into dust. You'd think that sort of demolition might be cathartic, right? But it's funny how even when you're the one doing the destroying, all you feel is empty. There I was, sweat running down my face, heart pounding, and who do I see? Karen, my neighbor, standing just on the other side of the fence with her phone out, her smile so sharp it could cut glass. She didn't waste a second. Yes, officer, I'd like to report destruction of property. What Karen didn't know, standing there feeling like queen of the cul-de-sac, was that I'd been waiting for something to change, anything to break the endless ache that had settled in my chest since my divorce. The pool, the one I'd built for my daughter Sophia when life felt like it made sense, was just the first casualty. Now it was nothing but rubble, bits of blue tile and concrete scattered like broken teeth across the yellowing grass, every swing a reminder that the life I'd built was over 6 months ago. Sophia would have been splashing around, laughter ringing out while I grilled burgers. Now all I had was her absence echoing back at me, and the sound of Karen on the phone. Divorce does weird things to a man. Elena, my ex, had been quick to blame the pool, too dangerous, she'd said, and then she started finding reasons Sophia couldn't come over. Meanwhile, she'd been running around on me while I worked 60-hour weeks just to keep the mortgage paid on this so-called dream house. Dar Martinez, my therapist, always said, anger's just grief in disguise. Some days it's hard to tell the difference. So when a sharp knock rattled the front door and I saw a cop through the peephole, young hair yanked into a bun, the badge catching sunlight, yeah, I figured the day could still get worse. Right behind her, Karen stood at the edge of the driveway, arms folded tight. She's been a thorn in my side for 3 years, ever since she and her husband Bob moved, and always quick with a ruler for my grass, ready to call the HO if my trash cans lingered by the curb for too long. This felt different, though. This felt like a power play. The officer Rodriguez looked apologetic but firm. I'm responding to a complaint about property destruction. Are you Marcus Rivera? Karen jumped in before I could answer, voice trembling with self-righteousness. He's tearing up his yard with heavy machinery, concrete flying everywhere, no permits. My grandkids could get hurt. He's driving down our property values. I tried to keep calm. Karen, it's my property. I can tear down my own pool if I want, but Rodriguez cut me off. Sir, we need to see your permits. Depending on the scope, you might need city approval. I didn't have any damn permits. I just wanted to erase reminders of what I'd lost. Karen was practically glowing, showing the officer days worth of photos on her phone. He's a safety hazard, she crowed like she was auditioning for Neighborhood Watch Captain of the Year when Rodriguez handed me a citation and explained I'd need to halt work for 6 weeks, maybe more. Karen's smile was pure triumph. 6 weeks of staring at that half-destroyed pool, 6 weeks of her peeking through the blinds, snapping photos for the HO. But what Karen didn't know was that I'd spent 23 years as a construction foreman before I ever picked up a project manager title. I knew building code, city loopholes, every trick in the book. If she wanted to play games, fine, and I was done grieving. I was ready to fight back, so I told the officer, all calm like, no problem, I'll get every permit, follow every rule, might even take on a few new projects now that I'm thinking about it. The look on Karen's face faltered just a flicker, but I caught it as soon as they left. I scrolled through my contacts to the one man who never lost a fight with City Hall, Jimmy Castellanos' mentor, old friend, built like a fire hydrant and stubborn as a mule. I hadn't called him in a year. Jimmy, it's Marcus, you up for a little payback? I'll buy the donuts by sunrise. Jimmy was in my driveway with his truck and a steaming thermos of coffee. He took one look at the backyard and whistled. You really went medieval on this place. He got it, though. He'd survived his own messy split years back. We stood there sipping coffee, and I pulled out photos of Karen's fence and deck. Jimmy squinted, then grinned. She's got her fence a good 18 in on your land, and that deck, no way, it's up to code. You've been sitting on this how long? 2 years. I said didn't want drama when Sophia was here, but Karen's made her choice. Jimmy flipped through property surveys, city plans, building codes, everything I'd gathered on long sleepless nights. We started with an official survey by the book, just like she demanded. I even filed a permit for a new workshop, 20 by 30 feet, 16-foot tall, position to cast the biggest legal shadow across her prized garden. Jimmy just laughed. You want her to feel it, huh? I want her to learn something about consequences. By 9 a.m. Jimmy knocked on Karen's door, clipboard in hand. I watched from my window as Karen went from confused to furious when he told her part of her fence and deck were on my land. This is harassment, she shouted, but Jimmy never even blinked. Just following protocol, ma'am. She tried to play tough, demanding to watch every measurement, snapping photos, hovering while Jimmy worked. It didn't matter, the numbers didn't lie. Her fence was 2 feet over her deck, nearly 8 in into the setback. In the city's eyes, that's grounds for forced demolition. Her face went white as a sheet. We just refinished it, she protested. Take it up with the city. Jimmy shrugged. Karen tried to talk to me privately, offering a neighborly solution, but I told her straight, next time you want to call the cops, me make sure your own House is in order. First she went quiet, the fight draining right out of her. 3 days later the real fun started. The city inspector showed up, Rodriguez again, this time with a clipboard and an attitude. He found violations everywhere on Karen's property, fence deck, even the shed and the air conditioner. Meanwhile my new friend from the planning department, Sarah, came by to check on my workshop permit, followed by an environmental assessor and a guy from the neighborhood notification office. I made sure to offer them coffee, all smiles, while the Hendersons' world imploded. Next door Bob finally stormed over, red-faced and panicked. What the hell are you doing, Marcus? The city says we have to tear down our deck, move the fence, $15,000 minimum. I shrugged. Maybe you should have surveyed properly. When he claimed they did, Sarah asked for paperwork. Turns out their surveyor was Bob's brother-in-law, unlicensed, totally useless, cheap shortcuts, expensive lessons. Noise from the city work crews became the new morning soundtrack. Construction on my workshop was slated for the next 6 months, starting at 7 a.m. sharp, every legal decibel echoing through Karen's kitchen and casting long shadows over her garden. When Sarah told me the city takes frivolous complaints seriously and finds repeat offenders, I tucked that info away. You could see the cracks forming in Karen and Bob's perfect world. Phone calls, arguments, panic. By noon Karen appeared in my driveway, mascara smudged, voice trembling. Please Marcus, the city says it'll cost 30 grand. Bob might have to reorganize the house. I know I was wrong, but this is destroying us. Can we work something out? For a moment I almost felt bad, but then I remembered every smug smile, every snide note about my grass or trash cans, every time she tried to weaponize my grief. I'll hold off on new complaints, but what's filed is filed. You'll have to fix what's already been found. Her face crumpled. That'll ruin us. But there was nothing left to say. 3 days ago you stood there and smiled while a cop wrote me up, called me a maniac, tried to kick me when I was already down. The difference between us is when I break the rules it's because I'm grieving. When you break them it's because you think you're above it all. Now you get to find out what consequences feel like. She walked away, shoulders shaking. The fight gone, and I went back to clearing rubble. Satisfaction settling in, but not peace, because this wasn't over. Construction starts Monday and that's just phase 3. Karen Henderson's about to learn the only thing worse than a vengeful neighbor is a neighbor who's done grieving and finally playing by the rules better than anyone. So what do you think? Did justice get served? Or was I just as bad as her? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear where you stand on neighbors' rules and the fine art of payback.